Rex and Ben here, and both of you guys make some very entertaining and really good videos. So if someone is wanting to just start making videos, starting up their YouTube channel, what is some advice that you can give to someone who is just now starting? They haven't even made a video yet.
I just keep it simple, man. If they don't know anything about making videos and they just want to get started into it, I'd say, and not trying to segue into his action hat, but man, dude, that's probably one of the things I'd purchase. Pick up an action hat, pick up a GoPro, start recording. Don't worry about editing anything fancy. Just cut some footage together, get the action, and cut out all the nonsense casting, right? Try not to make it too long, and just really just start. Just get after it. Just start somewhere.
Are there any free programs that you don't want to invest a whole lot of money in? You just want to see if you actually like filming that guys can go use? And what are some more? I know some of us know about Premiere, but what are some other programs that the more seasoned guys might be using?
Obviously, the top of the line programs are like Adobe Premiere Pro, and then you got, on the Mac side of things, you got Final Cut Pro, right? So those are the top two competitors right now. You actually use both. I go back and forth all the time when I make videos. 1 month I may be using Adobe Premiere Pro, and the other month I'm using Final Cut Pro. But if you're just starting out, I guess it depends on what platform you have. Like if you have a MacBook, I would say start out with the free software that it comes with. It's good software. I started out with it, actually. iMovie is a good starter platform. And if you're on the Windows side, Rex probably, I don't know if you have a Windows or a Mac, Rex, but I know back in the day when I had a PC, I would just use Windows Movie Maker. Just something basic, right? You don't want to get too complicated. You just want something that you can cut up some footage, add some audio, maybe some simple effects and transitions like that. But just get started, because then once you get started, you'll start learning, and then you can add to that and grow from there.
I would have to agree with you. You just kind of jump in. I use Adobe Premiere Pro. I've got a Mac also, but I grew up with Adobe products, with using Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator. So it was kind of an easy transition to get into Adobe Premiere Pro. But for someone just getting started, man, just using whatever's on your computer. I think Windows Movie Maker's default, or really cheap or free download. iMovie is really simple. And the only tool you really need to learn, in my opinion, is the scissor tool, which is the clip. And the best advice I give people all the time is, like, as you're starting to make videos, just watch other people's videos and see all the stuff you fast forward through. Because a lot of people will do their whole catch, and it's just somebody sitting there breathing heavy and just like reeling in a fish for like 3 minutes. And to be honest with you, nobody's gonna. You kind of fast forward through, like, look at how you respond to other people's videos, and then try to edit those things out. So it's like, look at money shots. Like, you want, if you're lucky enough to get a hook set or a eat, like, that to me is the money shot. You could have the fish, pull and drag. Like, the drag noise is always like a really cool thing to include. When the fish breaches the water, when they jump, or they're splashing around, like, keep those clips in. Well, obviously, I'm going to tell you, with the GoPros nowadays and the stability, that's where the action hat really shines, is because back in the day, if you had like a Hero 3 and you had it on your hat, it would make you kind of sick, and that's where POV wasn't that great of an angle. But nowadays, like, as you get into like the 5, 6, 7, and 8, the stability is so awesome.
It's ridiculous.
That the action hat really shines in that, where if you had one camera, like, you could film with it and not even have to do much. It's like your head is naturally turned towards the action, so you're always going to capture the eat. So if you're sight fishing, like, you're definitely going to get the money shot as long as you remember to turn it on. Which is another way to, like, kind of fishing and filming, is that if you have one camera, the thing you got to do is make sure you have enough batteries, because once you run out of batteries, the filming is over. And a lot of times people will start filming really front heavy, and most of the times you could, if you have to grind it out and the fish aren't there in the very beginning, like, you have all this footage of nothing. What I normally do now is, like, I have like 4 extra batteries, and then I did a little DIY of, like, my mobile battery charging station. So I use, like, just a standard power bank, and then I have 2 dual chargers. So I'm able to charge 4 GoPro batteries at one time. So that setup effectively lets me have like 16 batteries on the water. In reality, I have 6 total batteries, 2 in my 2 GoPros and then 4 extra ones. And then so I'm always rotating them out, and then I'm recharging them. So I always have enough power to record the whole time. And the second thing I've done is that with GoPros, you have 2 modes. You have it's called a quick capture, where the GoPro is off until you hit record, and then there's like a 3-second lag, and then it'll turn on. What I do is I just power it on and I leave it on standby mode. It eats up more battery, but I don't ever have that lag. With all GoPros and all cameras, there's all kinds of quirky stuff that can frustrate you on the water. And I have noticed that if I do a quick start, meaning it's powered off, and then I hit record, and then it starts recording. A lot of times, sometimes it can freeze. Like when it goes from a hard start, power off to recording, that's when you'll get a lot of the technical issues. But if you leave it running and it's on standby, you hit that button and then you hear the beep, right? And the good thing to kind of condition yourself is it's like GoPro has 2 beeps. So 1 beep is recording, and then 3 beep is off. So the way I have to condition myself to say, is my camera on or off? Otherwise, I have to take my camera off and look at it. My hat up, my action hat, and look at it. But so it's like 1 beep is like recording, and 3 beeps is I'm turning off. So in my head, every time I hear 3 beeps, I hear I'm turning off. So the way I run it is like I default it where I'm not recording. But when I see a fish, I hit it. Like if I see some activity, or I know this is like a primo spot where I've seen fish before, that's when I'll let it run. And usually after I catch a fish, I'll turn it off. And then that way, when I'm reviewing footage, I'm looking towards the end of the clips as to where the action is. If I ever have to just leave my GoPros running. So those are kind of some tips that I use to get the eats, like the money shots. But from the editing side, just to go off what Ben was saying, is like really just learn how to trim it down. View your videos. Like a lot of people, when they're recording, they just fall in love with the footage because it's their action. But the truth is like, don't put people through like 3 minutes of you reeling in this fish, or it fumbling around in the net, or like you sitting there trying to take the lure out of his mouth for 2 minutes, and then you have to go get the pliers. Like the shit that you would fast forward through in other people's videos, do them a favor and edit that out of yours. Because the real story is like, you caught it, you see a fish, you cast to it, you hook up, you reel it in, you bring it in the boat. Like tell that story, but do it in like kind of like don't wait.
30-second way.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's good advice. Yeah, because people get bored easily, right? Like we all are, on our phones. We're constantly flipping, right? If you ever watch like commercials, if you watch like a 20-second commercial, count every time you see a different shot, and it's going to be like 1, maybe 2 seconds at most, and most of the time it's like less than half a second. You know what I mean? So like we're constantly seeing something different action, right? So with that said, yeah, I mean, nobody wants to just sit to a stagnant reeling shot over, or like Rex said, removing a hook. They want to see the action. They get bored too easily nowadays.
Yeah, and show us the damn fish. I really, really hate those videos where you see him reeling it in, the drag screaming, everything's going, and then you never see the fish, like ever. And it did. Yeah, it didn't get broke off. It ends the video with the guy boat over at the side of the boat. Like, don't even put the video out if you can't show me the fish. Like, I want to see the money shot.
Can you believe I actually watched a video one time where the entire time the guy was just fishing and never even hooked up?
I did that a few days ago.
That was like a sad 5 minutes of my day.
Yeah, man.
Oh man.
Like another tip, like if most of the time people are going to run 1 GoPro. The advantage of having 2 GoPros is that your edits can become a lot more seamless. So it's like you'd call it bouncing angles, right? So you could transition, so if you have one angle, if you just have the action hat and you clip out all the reeling action, it just seems kind of jarring. But that's okay when you're starting out. But if you have a front camera and then you have the action hat, you can get the hook set and see, the initial reaction of like fish on, and then you could bounce to front angle where you're fighting the fish, and then you could bounce back to you netting the fish. And then that whole, let's say that whole 3-minute sequence is now dwindled down into a 20-second sequence, and then you could hold up the fish. You could talk about how you saw it, because a lot of people like to do more informational videos nowadays, and that's what people really want. And you could spend more time really talking about how you made that happen if you're doing videos that are information. I know Ben does that a lot. Ben will get some really good B-roll footage to kind of set the tone, and then he'll get into that. He'll do a little bit of talking before, kind of set up what he's looking at. Then he'll hook up with a fish, and you bring the fish in. He bounces between the back angle and the action hat and netting the fish, and then he'll kind of talk about what happened. And basically you're storytelling. You're telling the story, you're giving out information. So what's the best way to tell that story? And a lot of times it's not 3 minutes of you reeling in that fish or removing the hook from the mouth, fumbling around with it. Do people a favor and edit that stuff out.
I remember, Rex, when I bought those contours from you and I was trying to do the video thing myself, and the first bit of advice that you gave me whenever it came to the action and editing, you said, make sure the audience knows the story that you want to tell with that video. Whenever you're putting something together, make sure there's a story to tell, that there's a start of the story, there's a middle of the story, and then there's the end of the story. And make sure that you follow on a progression that gets you to that place. And I think that's something that a lot of these guys aren't taking into account whenever they're putting together some of these videos, is if it's really quality, even if it's longer, you're going to be hooked in on that video, even if you have some of that B-roll footage and stuff, if you're trying to follow along with the story. Like you said, if you're just watching 3 minutes of reeling and stuff, that's not part of a story. That's not capturing you and bringing you in.
Like, well, one of the things I kind of learned, like I was an English major for a little bit, and one of the things you do when you're writing a story is like you're supposed to treat every word and sentence with purpose, right? And every word and sentence is supposed to either show, like, reveal a character or reveal personality or move the story along. So you can use that same idea when it comes to video editing, where every scene or every clip is either showing your personality or it's moving the story along. So that's where you get these things where things just drag. And when things drag, people can get distracted. They'll just turn it off and they'll watch the next movie. They'll fast forward it. So just really being conscious of, and the story doesn't have to be great. The story is you caught a fish, like it's a moment that you're capturing. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be that complicated, but whatever that story is around that fish, like every clip and every little section of it should be contributing to that story. Otherwise it's going to drag.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of standard in any filmmaking, right? So we make films. That's what we do. We make short films, right? It's our outings on the water. But when you're just thinking about it, right? Rex nailed it. You're telling a story, right? And when you're telling that story, you want to have some sort of introduction, right? You're introducing yourself. And you don't have to verbally introduce yourself, right? You can introduce it in with audio, sound effects, and then your visuals, right? But you got to introduce the story, right? And then you got to have some sort of setup. So, setup or action that leads to a climax and then ultimately a resolution, right? I'm out here fishing today for redfish. I'm casting. I hit the redfish in the head. I nail it. I land it. That's the resolution. Something to that effect, right? I know that kind of oversimplifies it, but And at
No, but
the end, everybody wants to. Yeah.
no, and there's a good thing too, is because what you'll notice nowadays, like, and this is going to be kind of a bit of a rant, or PSA or something, but like, for the longest time, to this day, I don't like doing the talking to the camera. I don't like the hey guys. Hey,
Yeah.
there's this thing where it's like a YouTube personality that everybody has adopted.
Oh God.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah.
Today
Uh-huh.
we're out here, and it's this whole it's this whole setup. And to me, a lot of times it just seems I don't know, the best way to say it.
I just want to fish in my underwear and get likes.
I'm sure if you did that, you'd probably get a few.
But my
Would
whole
you
point-
like it, Ben?
Oh, I'd like it.
some people's personality lends to that style, right? But for the most part, like, I like fishing with other people because I tell this story where it's like I turn around and say, "Hey Drew, you catch anything?" And then you respond to me, and that's how I tell this story, as opposed to me saying, "Hey guys, today we're out at so and so, and this is what I'm throwing, and this and that." Like, I make videos that I want to watch, and I notice when the minute I get into a video where it's like this guy's doing this whole setup and it kind of comes off corny to me, I just kind of tune it out. And that's just maybe because I've just watched so many freaking YouTube videos that I barely watch them now.
One
Because
time,
it's all the same personality.
One time when Rex and I went fishing, he told a story, of course, about our fishing trip. In fact, he told it so well, he used a stuffed skunk and beat the skunk to death outside of his kayak.
I remember that. I was trying to do like this reverse jinx, where it's like, I'm going to bring the skunk hat and I'm going to catch a fish with the skunk hat. And then I ended up getting skunked. So then I was trying to beat the skunk off. Like literally.
Literally beat the skunk off.
Well,
You got beat by the wind. That's what happened.
but you know how it is, Ben. Like, you watch your stuff from, just months ago, and you've already grown. And I think that's what's important is, like, if you're going to make videos, it's easy for people to just see what other popular people are doing and emulate it. And that's how, to be fair, that's how everybody starts. But as you become more comfortable in front of the camera and recording, you're going to figure out, like, your own style and the way you want to present it, and that to me is what at the end of the day, it has to be, it should be authentic to you, because otherwise everything seems forced. And once you start doing, like, gimmicky things, like, people catch on to that. And a lot of times it's not a positive reaction. One of the things that I see all the time is, like, a lot of the popular YouTubers don't even get on Facebook, because on Facebook they get trolled because they're not people. And Facebook is about real people. They can exist on Instagram and YouTube and everybody loves them, but they get on Facebook and they get trolled because that's a character that they've built, and it doesn't transition well into real life. And a lot of those people are the same ones that are like, screw all these haters, and I got all these haters, and but it's like, do people have a reason to hate on?
Lord.
Yeah, I mean, because like
We're gonna
Joe
have
Smith,
to have a conversation about that on the sideline.
There's people that film, and there's people that say, I'm a YouTuber, right? And they embrace the I'm a YouTuber personality. And their whole MO on Facebook and online is like,
look at my
subscribe.
accolades from YouTube.
Yes. And they call people their fans. And I'm like, are they your fans? Or are they just your homies that you just,
Those are the
so I'm
same
saying this is
people-
like, I didn't want this to wax negative. It's more about to be aware, I'm just saying my whole message is be a real person. And some of these people they're real people, but I necessarily wouldn't kick it with them.
Oh yeah.
If that's
So-
the personality.
exactly, and that's why they don't hang out on Facebook. That's
Yeah,
why they don't hang out on
I've only-
Facebook, because Joe Smith from Bayou La Batre, Louisiana will hop on Facebook and tell them real quick, that they're fake and they're this and they're that, and they ain't really catching fish. They're just doing that stuff for the camera, and they don't like to hear that. They like the likes and subscribes that they can get on YouTube and control all the content on there.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Ben's stuff. Ben's real, and he's a real person. I see him at the tournaments. Like, he's a great fisherman. Like, I want to learn from him, and he does great. He gets great shots. He gets great angles. I do a complete different style video than Ben, but I definitely I'm a big fan of his work. And at the end of the day, it's like, I know that Ben's videos are a reflection of him and what he finds interesting, and that I respect. So.
Because I'm gonna start competing with you guys, man. I'm gonna get on YouTube and I'm gonna be a YouTuber too.
Man, do it, man. I don't think it's a competition. I think you're only competing against yourself. You know what I mean?
That's right. What
people get
Rex was
up.
saying. What Rex was saying really brought something to mind. Those guys that do it even for the negative comments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They'll put junk out there just so they can get the negative
even
comments.
Bad exposure, right? So they're gonna get
I'm like,
views.
I don't want to watch your stuff, man. I want to watch something that's entertaining. I've only got a few videos out there, and they haven't gone viral. They haven't been amazing. They've been amazing for me, though. They've been amazing because I love them. Because you know what I get to do is I love mixing music, right? And I have a lot of music that's in my videos, and I have different styles of maybe even the same song. There's a one out there that's I'm back in Swan Lake somewhere, and I use like 2 or 3 versions of James Brown, I Feel Good, and I'm mixing them while I'm doing the video because back to some of my DJ days, it's fun for me. That's the fun part. Ben likes to do some of the narrative stuff.
That's your personality too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's your personality. Ben likes to do he just does a teeny tiny bit of narrative, but then to me, he has a lot of the different angles like Rex was talking about, and getting a lot of different variety in a short clip of, the birds are flying, there's some good clean shots with everything, where Rex's is completely different.
That's his schooling.
And I think that's something that some of these guys that are just now starting out need to take into consideration. Like Rex said, they may try to emulate somebody else, but really try to put your own personality in there. Try to put your own flair, whether that's with the music that you choose, whether that's the way you interact with the camera. Don't try to be somebody else. Try to be yourself, because on this podcast, if you talk to Chris out there at the boat ramp or something, it's going to be the exact same thing that you hear on this podcast. If you talk to me, it's going to be the exact same thing. If you talk to Ben, it's going to be the exact same thing. And Rex too. Just don't try to do something or be something that you're not, because you're going to struggle putting that product out there if you're trying to be somebody else.
No, I agree with that 100%. The way I kind of view these YouTube videos or films is the same way I approach music. Like, I find there's a lot of crap musicians out there that are super popular and make a killing. I don't necessarily want to meet that person. Good for them. And I don't hate on them. I respect them. I was like, hey, they're making a living fishing, and they're making good money doing it. And they're not. They're not this is what they do for a living, as opposed to having a corporate gig or something. They made that leap and they're successful at it. So I give them props from that aspect. But they will do anything for the views. And that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know. I couldn't do it. So it's not like there's obviously people that like that stuff, but I'm not their audience. So this happens to me a lot, because a lot of people use action hats, and I'm super supportive of anybody who uses the action hat, but I don't necessarily have to be a fan of everybody's work and everybody's style. It's just different. So I think there is I think it's more like as you become a grown up, you realize like you don't have to sell yourself out to be popular. Like you can be popular, and it may take a little bit longer to get some traction and people to notice you. But at the end of the day, I talk to a lot of people that have like big YouTube followings, and we all agree is like at the end of the day, like you're saying, Chris, I just documented this awesome memory I had with the homies, you know. And every time I'm at PAC and I'm there with Heath or Rob Field, um, they put out a video, I put out a video, and we all watch each other's videos because we want to relive that moment. And at bare minimum, when I'm freaking 60 or 70, I've got this whole library of all these like killer fishing days with my buddies and all these adventures we had. And that's what I do it for. And if people who like my style of videos, which I kind of call just ninja filming, which is I just capture real audio and real people cutting up and real reactions to stuff. I try not to play things up. So it's as if there's a cameraman there with us, filming us interacting, cutting up, fishing, and I do the edit for it. And it just happened to be the camera that was on my head, So I'm my own film guy, but it's really about just documenting, your memories. So me and Ben are giving all these tips, but at the end of the day, it's really about making a video that you'll enjoy, done with a little bit of creativity and showing your personality, and that's what it's really about. And I think if you can show a genuine moment and a genuine story, people are just naturally gonna appreciate it. Whether it's high produced or just whatever you could do, just a simple clip in and clip out. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Awesome. So let's get in. We talked a lot about
Videos.
that was a lot about videos on where should someone start.
Rex has a ton of great information.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm glad he's able to articulate it and get it out there in a way that everybody can use this. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm telling you right now, from the information he's given me, is I'm going to buy another Pelican box and I'm going to make just a charging box.
Yep. I'll send you a link to the video I made, but it's super simple.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I have a Pelican box that I have my Sony camera with the one telephoto lens, and then I have another little compartment within that same Pelican box, and I have a little power bank that has a double GoPro charger. So I have 3 batteries, not as many as Rex, but the one my rear view or my side view camera, I usually have like one of those big power banks that lasts all day long.
Yep.
And I
I
mean, that's the
didn't
way
mean
to
to
go.
stall your transition though, Drew.
Yes.
It's all right. This is just kind of the